Hey, what's up, cool ballers? Welcome to another edition of the Pregame Show. It is I, Marcus Braden, aka Mark Anthony 35, joined by my good friend Brent, aka Brent the Middleman. How's it going, man?
What's up, Marcus? I like that, Mark Anthony.
That's Mark Anthony. It's kind of a combo. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, hey, Brent, it's been a while since I hopped in the studio with you, man. How's everything been?
Yeah, no, it's been good. I love this crew here we have at Hoop Ball, and we get to mix it up and get different combinations every day, pre and post game, and just getting this consistency down. So if you liking the channel and the content, make sure you subscribe and like and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any updates, and go to hoop-ball.com to join our Discord. It's only like $4.99 a month to get premium rankings and be a part of the Discord chat. So it's a huge deal. Hope we get to do more of these.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have a juicy 10-game slate. Won't waste any time. Let's jump right into it. Starting off here, first game we're looking at is the Pacers at Cleveland. I know as I'm looking here, Brent, a few things to know. Domantas Sabonis, he's questionable. On my end, I don't think I've seen an official word as to whether or not he'll play. That's kind of been the recurring theme with, a lot of these big names heading into the All-Star break. You get the soreness, the bumps and ticks. All these things are kind of, appearing on the injury report as you want to rest those players and not really, have to roll them out there. I mean, if LeBron James rests, that pretty much says it all with him missing a game.
With the All-Star break right around the corner, teams are taking no chances. I see him listed as questionable. My money would be on he doesn't play. I wouldn't count on him playing.
Sure. And then we got Doug McDermott there. He's questionable, with an apparent mouth injury, something with his teeth. Jeremy Lamb is questionable, but it looks like Nate Bjorgen said he expects him to play. So I guess we can kind of lean into that and, just keep an eye out before tip there. How about you, Brent? Anything you're seeing on your end?
Yeah, on the Cleveland side, we got, of course, Drummond and Love are out.
Sure.
Larry Nance, I guess, is probably the big one who's still out. So nobody other than that popping up on the injury report here for Cleveland. So, you're going to run out Sexton. You're going to run out Garland. You can count on Jared Allen for sure. Okoro has been playing better and actually, he's been getting tons of minutes, but hasn't really been putting up the stats. But lately, he's starting to become interesting to watch here in fantasy. He's really just been death to Chetty Osman's stats. I don't see Prince on the injury report, so it looks like Prince could be back. So, it's tough to rely on anyone outside of kind of that big three I brought up for Cleveland.
Absolutely. One thing I want to note there, you kind of touched on it, but from a fantasy perspective, I think this is a really good time for those of you who have an open IR spot. Now might be the time, in my opinion, to grab Larry Nance if you can stash him. I know they said he's been doing on-court work. They expect him back late March. You figure through this matchup, you got the All-Star break. He could even return sooner than that. We have to remember it was a finger injury. The fact he's doing on-court work already is a really good sign. So, he was playing really well before that injury, right? And we know that he's the future. They're going to build off the young guys, right? I'm not saying Kevin Love is Andre Drummond, but with the young talent they have, they want to, have that identity, have their core. So I don't see why Larry Nance couldn't return back to the, production he was doing before. So he's definitely a guy I would jump on, I think.
Yep. Yeah, there's a good chance McGee's traded, Love's traded, Drummond's traded, and they're going to go super young. So and Nance really doesn't have any other competition for that power forward spot next to Allen. That's going to be a pretty fun duo to watch, Allen and Nance. So talk about an athletic, rim protecting, rebounding duo right there. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on to our next game here, we have Utah at Philadelphia. Nothing really to report. No fantasy relevant information as far as injuries go. Just something to note, I guess, if it's worth mentioning. As far as Utah, right, we just got Michael Conley back. He's getting back into form. One thing I've seen that's interesting as far as Donovan Mitchell, those assists are still trending up. He's at about 5.9 over the last 30 days or so. So that could be a good sign that maybe that Passing production could stay. He can kind of level out at about 5.5. So, for fantasy owners, that is a welcome sign. Other than that, nothing to really report on the injury report. So I'll flip it over to you, Brent. What are we seeing as far as Philadelphia goes?
Yeah, I mean, this one's an easy one. Tobias Harris is going to play.
Mm-hmm.
So 76ers have, their full complement of players.
Mm-hmm.
The only guy I would keep an eye on that may be available from a fantasy perspective is Shake Milton. He's definitely shown that he's the man over Maxey as far as that backup guard comes. He's going to get assists. He runs the offense a lot when he comes in. And he could fill it up. He's going to have off nights here and there when his shot's not falling, but I think he's going to put up enough ancillary stats not to hurt you. So he's a guy I'm keeping an eye on in fantasy leagues for sure, if not picking him up.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, you're completely right. To add on to that, he has a standalone value, right? But anytime one of those key guys goes out, really 1 through the 3, as we've seen, even with bias, he can find his value with that added production, added usage, minutes. He always capitalizes on that. So definitely something to look for.
Totally.
All righty. Quick update. Something I do want to that I just got in. It looks like Doug McDermott and Domantas Sabonis will play, actually, after all. So if you have any of those guys not in your lineup and, you need the 10th guy or, especially Sabonis, you want him playing, definitely get him in before tip.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, okay. So moving on here, we have Detroit at Toronto. Looking at Detroit, we have Jeremy Grant. He's day-to-day. He's still dealing with that quad. Or was he confirmed to play?
Yeah, he's out. He's out
tonight. Oh, he's confirmed out. Okay. Yep, I'm still seeing questionable on my end. So, obviously that's huge.
Yeah.
I think those minutes just kind of get dispersed, between Josh Jackson, maybe Sekou. There's
Jackson's out too.
Oh, is he?
Jackson and Grant are sitting. So it's going to be Sekou and Bay. Are probably going to split those.
Yeah,
those
and they'll have a lot of usage, a lot of run. If you need one of those guys, 3-and-D with Sadiq Bey, like I said, 20 minutes too. You can make a nice ad just to kind of get a bump in that production while those guys are out. Other than that, wow, that's crazy. I didn't see that. I only had Jeremy Grant. That's all I'm seeing for Detroit. It's interesting. One thing I want to hit on, it feels like Isaiah Stewart is kind of trending up a little bit. It seems like, he's sharing that low with Mason Plumlee. But I want to ask you, Brent, real quick. What do you think about him going forward?
Look, I like Stewart a lot. He's able to double-double and get a couple blocks even in backup minutes. So if he ever gets a chance to get 20, 25 minutes consistently, he's obviously going to be a fantasy monster.
Yeah.
He reminds me a lot of like Precious Achiuwa in Miami. Like when they get the time, they can put up those big numbers. So I don't know, but the difference being, Detroit's not really going to be competitive. So I could see them giving Stewart more and more minutes as the season goes on. Maybe even looking to trade Plumlee because he is playing so well. They might be able to actually get a good return for him.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Plumlee's a good veteran for them. He's solid, but he's playing too good right now for Stewart to get any more time than he's getting.
Absolutely.
But there's definitely a lot of things that could happen that could make Stewart jump up. So in deep leagues, I'd grab him. And then, if you have a spot on the end of your bench in like a roto league, maybe grab Stewart and see what happens. But I like his fantasy future a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And what are you seeing on the Toronto side there?
Got Siakam's out, and it looks like a newbie's going to be out too, or Anunoby. Sorry, I always say that wrong. And then Van Vliet's out too. So, look for big games from Kyle Lowry.
Yeah.
Norman Powell's got a wide open shot here. I'm a huge Chris Boucher guy, even when he doesn't get a lot of minutes. I love what he does. So keep running him out there, and hopefully they don't trade for a center. There's been a lot of rumors about that happening. So we'll see what happens there. But until then, run him out confidently. Other than that, those are your main guys for Toronto. It's hard to predict, what other guys, because they have such a tight rotation. It's hard to know who's actually going to step up outside of those guys. But I think those guys are going to be huge tonight.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we got old man Lowry in full force getting that usage, those big minutes, which he just relishes in. So, it should be a big DFS night for him. If you're playing some DFS tonight, I might want to activate him. But yeah, it's
Totally. Yeah, Powell might be a good cheap guy.
Oh yeah, yep, Norman Powell too. Absolutely. No, but yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you said there for sure. Moving along, this is probably going to be one of the most favorited games on the slate. We got Brooklyn at Houston. Back James Harden is here, back in Houston, man. And what cool news, I will say just real quick, that before then they made the public announcement that they would retire his jersey. I think that's special, especially for all he did to Houston. It kind of goes without saying, but that's a nice sentiment. So it should be a really nice welcoming back for him. Now, really, for Brooklyn, we've kind of been seeing this trend. It's been the usual suspects, not so much in the sense of who we've been getting all year. But recently, we've really seen Bruce Brown and the kind of coming up, the hustle guy we all want to talk about and see. Nick Claxton is really making some noise, right? He's getting limited run, and what he's doing in those minutes is just incredible. So I'll start off there and just ask you, Brent. First of all, I'll start with Bruce Brown. What do you think about what he's been doing, and do you think now, because it's always been said the Nets have the players, they just didn't have the depth. With this kind of ascension of Bruce Brown, do you think he can kind of sustain some of that value going forward? Sure, it will diminish and be impacted when Jeff Green, when Kevin Durant gets back. But do you think he can still be a pretty solid fantasy guy who can, produce and maintain his efficiency and points and steals, well-rounded effort?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's well-rounded enough and plays enough defense that I think he can hold some value. I get really nervous when a team has a big three like that they depend on so much. When all three of those guys are playing, it's really the split is going to be, Harris, Brown, TLC. They're all going to be kind of vying for that fourth guy. But when the defense is paying attention to those three guys, it leaves those other guys wide open. And then also having three guys like that on your team tend to motivate guys to play more defense. And Brown is a bulldog, man. He can get in there, he can get steals, and those are tough fantasy categories to find out there. So, if you need a guy like that who's not gonna kill you in the percentages, he's not going to hurt you in turnovers, and he's going to get good steals. Brown is a decent guy, but I do get worried with the guys who are so dominant that he may not get enough usage to really maintain value.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I definitely agree with you there. It's it's one of those things. I'm sure he'll be more stream worthy than as he is now, kind of a grab and hold until those guys get back. It's definitely been good, from what we've seen from him. Now, I got to ask you, like I said, Nick Claxton, what do you think about him? I mean, just in limited minutes, he's been having just eye-popping stat lines, bringing the defense. I mean, really just catching those lobs, hustling on both ends of the floor. You kind of got to figure, and DeAndre Jordan's been playing well, right? But, he always kind of dips off, and you got to figure the Nets, who've been rumored to maybe acquire DeMarcus Cousins and stuff, if they had this young, dynamic hustle guy in Nick Claxton, you got to figure he's just going to earn his minutes and just kind of ascend to a larger role, right? I mean, even whenever that.
Yeah, I mean, Claxton's in a tough spot. I'm a huge Claxton fan. I have him in a couple dynasty leagues where I've just been sitting on him for a couple years because you could tell he was going to be one of those, blocking, 3-point shooting, and rebounding guys that are like really elite in fantasy. But Brooklyn's so good. They're gonna bring in Cousins. They got Jordan. He's that they're just gonna suck up those minutes. When Jeff Green's healthy, they really like Jeff Green because he's a smart veteran that's not gonna hurt them, and he's a great guy to have on a team like that because he's unselfish and he can knock down the three. So I think that's all gonna kind of hurt Claxton a little bit. And I'm worried that maybe we've seen like his best game, like that could be his ceiling for this year. But you're right. I mean, as they get closer to the playoffs, if they've locked in one of those top seeds, it could be a point in the fantasy playoffs where Claxton starts getting more and more minutes as they see what they got in him, going towards the end of the year. So he's sort of like I'd say he's kind of like a lottery ticket or a Hail Mary type of fantasy pickup. Yeah. If you got the room and you're leading your league, pick them up and see. You take that, go for that lottery ticket. If you're trying to make up ground, then maybe. But if you're kind of stuck in the middle, there's probably more consistent guys to get on the wire. But I get the hype. I mean, he's obviously going to be a fantasy stud. it's just you have to look when that team's healthy. Are the minutes going to be there for him and the time? He's obviously worked his way into the rotation, but what's that look like? Is he going to have to like blow up in 10 minutes a game or less than 15 minutes a game? Because that's only going to happen every once in a while. If he starts consistently getting 15, 20 minutes, then that's a different story. So watch what happens, but he's probably worth grabbing now and seeing what they do with the center position. Because maybe he will change their mind and they won't need to go out and get someone like Cousins or something like that. But yeah, I worry about that. So I know this is kind of an on the fence answer about him. I've picked him up in a couple spots where I could afford to, just because I like the chance at what he can do. But I'm not counting on him to be that superstar that he probably will be in the next couple of years.
Absolutely. No, I definitely agree. I mean, yeah, you said it perfectly, man. It's one of those things, like it's there, it's exciting, but you can't just go all in, right? Just go too much. So yeah, you kind of have to make it make sense for you. If you can hold them, sure, but don't just let guys pass and just hold on for dear life, and then it ends up costing you. So it'll be exciting to see how it plans out. But no, I love this game. I definitely think the future's bright. So. How about Houston? Anything that's really popping out on your end? I know I did see a report shortly before we started that David Nwaba, I guess, hurt his wrist pretty severely. He has to get surgery. He'll be out 6+ weeks. And you got to wonder. We kind of seen Jayshawn Tate off to a good start, and then he was trending off a little bit. Do you feel like maybe now's the time that he starts trending up, and now's the time to go out and get him, or what do you?
I don't know. I don't know if Nwaba's the trigger there for Tate. I think Tate really it's really Oladipo. When he's healthy, Tate's just not really doing a whole lot. I've actually dropped Tate in a bunch of leagues because Oladipo does seem like he's getting more consistent PT now. So it's a tough one, though. I love Tate's game. I think in the future he's going to be great. Houston obviously loves him. He could be a guy who emerges big at the end of the year. So that's something to keep an eye on, but there were more consistent options for me right now on the waiver wire than Tate. But I do like his game. As far as injuries for them go, House is out, Gordon's out, Nwaba's out now. So yeah, with those guys out, I mean, Tate's going to get the minutes.
Sure.
It's just with Wall and Oladipo, is there going to be enough scoring and stuff to go around? I think with Gordon out, that probably helps Tate a little bit more. So this could be a good night to run Tate out there. I'm just worried that when they're healthy, he's just not getting enough usage. But that's about it from Houston. Not a whole lot else to get excited about there. I love where Oladipo seems to be playing really well, which is exciting because I have him in a few leagues. And John Wall's just been really good. Come back from that injury in a great way and has looked good. Otherwise, we're all waiting for Christian Wood to get back and get 40 minutes a game and just be a first round value.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree. I think for Tate, if he gets his run, especially with another guy out for an extended period, if he can get you that 10 to 15 points a game on efficient shooting, he's not really hurting you anywhere else. He's bringing some defense. So, a modest number of rebounds, some assists in there, that can be valuable. So I definitely just wait to see how it pans out. If he does go on a nice tear, right, and he's available, pick him up, ride him out, kind of like you had before. But in theory, this only improves his chances to be a more impactful fantasy player. So we'll see how that.
Tonight's a big night for him, I think, with Gordon and House out. He's going to get a lot of minutes.
Yeah. All right, so moving along here, we got Atlanta and Orlando. So starting off with the Hawks, one of the biggest things, most noteworthy, is Clint Capella. He was
I thought you were going to say coach.
I mean, so much craziness going around the coach, and it's funny you said that because, I mean, there's so much that's been, going in the 24, 48 hours. I feel like what's understood doesn't need to be explained kind of thing, like Greg Popovich saying they're going to regret that, players not even knowing. That's just been, I don't know, just craziness. And then now, I like Nate McMillan as a coach, right? He's just more defensive-minded, but to see John Collins in the other game get limited minutes, and he said it was a matchups thing. It's just there's just a lot going on in Atlanta right now, and with all the offseason acquisitions they made, I'm sure this is not how they envisioned.
They just have a weird team build.
Yeah,
they have too many guys at the same position.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's really sure. It's tough on a coach when you have so many guys at one position, because how do you give them enough minutes to get into a rhythm but still give guys enough time where they're not complaining? I mean, the signing Gallinari was really weird when you already had Collins there. Trading for Capella was even kind of weird, but he's been great. Hunter's emergence is really hurt. You got Reddish and Herder and Hunter and Bogdanovich. That was a weird signing because he didn't really fit.
Sure.
They just have a lot of too many of the same position, and then drafting on Gonkwu, just building their team is odd.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what they were thinking there, and it's really hurting these guys from a fantasy perspective because you can't really count on anyone night to night except Capella and Trae Young, because they're all kind of hurting each other, and Collins. But all those wing guys are killing each other. And Gallinari have 38 points and then have 3. And that's really frustrating from a fantasy perspective.
Sure. Absolutely. No, I hear you. I think it's a classic case of the bad team, a lot of money. Let's just get as many, name-worthy players we can. But
and lots of draft picks.
Yeah.
So they signed a bunch of dudes. They drafted a bunch of. Now they just have a lot of really good players, but that's almost a curse.
Absolutely. No, yeah, you're right on there. That's definitely the biggest news. I should say more recently, because I got an update. Clint Capella, who was originally questionable for his foot, is now being ruled out of today's game. So anytime you see that foot, I don't know about you, it makes me cringe a little bit. I mean, for all the trouble he's had with his foot soreness in Houston, you got to think, even while he was playing well, that was one of the key reasons why they traded him, right? They wanted to go small ball, but maybe there was some kind of, just uncertainty and not knowing if he was healthy enough and getting what they could while they could. And then the time he missed while he was in Atlanta, he's been having an incredible year. But Brent, I'll ask you, do you worry about that at all? Do you just see this as we're getting towards the All-Star break, so let's just keep our guys out? Or do you feel like being the foot and being that he's not playing, it's something that, may be a little concerning?
Yeah, I'm not super worried because it was a game time decision, and it is right before the All-Star break. So it sounds like one of those situations where, if there wasn't a break coming up, you probably could have played. So I'm not super worried about it, but it could be a case, like you said, of, trying to sell your car really quick once the engine light goes off, sell it quick before it goes back on. I think Capella's engine light might have been off for a minute and they traded him, and now it's coming back on. So I hope that's not the case. But, the fact that he was a game time decision and it's right up next to a break, I think I'm not too worried about it. They're probably just trying to be careful with him, because he really has been one of their best players. So you gotta be cautious. And they do have depth at center, to make up for that. So that'll be interesting. I think Collins is probably in line for a big game. Reddish is out and Hunter's out. So, Gallinari and Herder are good plays. I think Bogdanovich is still getting ramped up, but he's a guy who might be on your waiver wire, who might still be out there from his injury. It's probably worth owning because he's shown in the past that he can be a really good fantasy contributor. But like I said, they're stacked at those positions. So when they're healthy, it's really guys really aren't going to be able to excel like they would in a different situation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, you hope the best for him, obviously. We'll just monitor that. As I said, it's a little concerning being that it's a foot, but, we won't speak the negativity into existence. Plenty of time to rest. He'll be good and back to rolling.
We all got T.J. Warren foot scares going on in the back of our head. So.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what I'm saying. And, just being a big man and already having that injury history, it's just.
It's a little scary. I'm with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, in Orlando, let's see, my injury thing didn't refresh here. So it looks like with Orlando, the main injury is, Anthony's still out. Michael Carter-Williams, pretty good pickup if you need assists, but his percentages are going to be pretty inconsistent.
Sure.
There's nights where he goes like 9 for 10, and then there's nights where he goes like 0 for 12. But if you need assists, you could do worse. Gordon's still out. I didn't see his Fournier. My injury thing's not updating. So
yeah, he was ruled out.
So Fournier's out. Yeah, I think Carter Williams is probably a good play. I see someone in the chat's asking if Anthony's worth grabbing. I picked up Anthony and added him, like you said earlier about another team. If you have that IR spot, guys like Anthony are probably worth plugging in because I think Orlando will give him a lot of run later in the season when he comes back. So I think Anthony's probably worth adding to that IR spot. Outside of that, it's, to the Vucevic show. I mean, that guy's been unbelievable. He's an all-star. I have him on a couple teams, and I feel super lucky to have him.
I regret not getting him. I had two bigs. I got Ayton and Sabonis, who I've since traded, and I was so tempted to get Vooch, and I'm kicking myself. I should have known, but yeah, he's incredible.
People keep waiting for the other shoe to drop with him, like he's not for real. Mm-hmm. He's for real. I mean, he's staying healthy. He's 30 and 15. I mean, he's amazing. So Vucevic is real, and enjoy it. You're not gonna be able to trade for him, so don't even try. Just if you got him, enjoy it, and if you don't be a hater, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I tried to acquire him myself. I couldn't get him, so plenty of hatred coming from this way.
I wouldn't trade him. Yeah.
All right, man. So moving on here, we have Charlotte at Minnesota. Some good news. We'll just start it right out the gate. Gordon Hayward, who missed the last 2 games with the hand injury. First of all, we didn't know if he had broken his hand again and would need, an extended period of time, if there was surgery needed, and he played the next game. Then he didn't play the next 2, and you didn't know, were they being precautious or was it worse than it is? So this is a pretty good sign right before the All-Star break he's playing. You got to figure everybody who's been getting a good bump, PJ Washington, Malik Monk, Miles Bridges, pretty much everyone, right? It's just, obviously going to be impacted by having him back. So that's great, right? So we assume that he will, get his usual workload. Yeah. It was just a hand thing.
Run him out there. Don't overthink it. Play your stars, no matter what. That's the best fantasy advice I could give anybody. Mm-hmm. Play your stars. Don't bench a star just because of a matchup or because they have an injury. If they're playing, play them. You'll regret it 90% of the time, 99% of the time. If you don't play them, you'll regret it. Stars play good. And if Hayward's playing and they're putting him out there, he's going to be fine. Yep. He's played through it already and put up great numbers, so don't worry about it. I still like Malik Monk right now with Graham out. He's just on fire. I mean, eventually the fire is going to go out. We've seen it before, but ride him while he's hot. Yeah, he's been great. So, and PJ Washington, I was Hoopball fans will know that I was pushing PJ Washington hard preseason and before the draft, and he was making me a little bit nervous. But he's starting to break out a bit now and starting to click, and he's got all the tools to be a fantasy superstar. He's got the 3, he's got the rebounds, he's got the blocks. If you listen to me gloat about fantasy guys, it's that mold of player, that new mold of like the Miles Turners, the Bouchers, the Washingtons, the guys that can shoot 3s and block shots and rebound, and with great field goal percentage. And typically these guys have a really good free throw percentage too, because they're good 3-point shooters, so they don't kill you from free throws like a lot of big guys will. That's why I put those guys above even like a Sabonis, although Sabonis kind of makes up for it with all his assists, but his lack of blocks is just a killer from a big guy. So, I love guys like Washington. I think he's on his way to being a fantasy stud eventually. Yeah,
that's my hope too. I made sure to get him late. I'm kicking myself a little bit because I dropped him while he was out. I was forced, and then he had the big game, so now the guy who has him is probably just going to hold on for dear life. But I love his game. Yeah, just like you said, 3 and D. He's very athletic. I feel like he can be a key piece to that team moving forward.
Yeah, I like what Charlotte's doing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Unlike the Hawks, they have guys that fit in the right spot. They're not overloaded anywhere. They have guys that fit a role. Mm-hmm. They didn't just go out and get a bunch of good dudes just because they're good. They're picking guys because they fit what they fit a need.
Exactly.
The Hawks just went out and got good people, but you can have too many people at each position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. And then also to note, Cody Zeller was ruled out.
Yeah.
So, it'll be good to have
the Yumbo show. No,
Yeah.
it's more PJ. It's gonna be more PJ at center is what that means. So.
Yeah, and you gotta wonder, right? Because PJ always gets that run, and this is one of the most frustrating things with him is we see how he can just go off, right? And that huge game he had the other day, but then he gets the same run usage and only gets 3 points when the shot's not falling, not too much. And that's growing pains, right? But you got to figure, with the rotation changes and Zeller being out indefinitely, Biyombo can sneak in there, get you,
he's
high
a sneaky play.
Yeah, and he can get you the blocks, definitely. So, actually, that's right on cue with Brandon Baker. We didn't forget about you when you asked threes and blocks earlier. I think if you're looking for your prototypical 3-and-D guy, you always got Maxi Kleber. And maybe if, Luka is actually out, which we will get to, that can lead to more run and opportunity for him. As far as strictly blocks, one of the most noteworthy guys who's kind of trending up, who we really didn't touch on, but Justin Patton, he's been looking good and he's playing, right? And he's showing signs. He's been given opportunities, especially with Wood out. So I think if you needed a blocks guy, right, just to get you maybe 2 or 3 plus, I think he's good for it. So that's another guy.
He's a blocks specialist. As soon as Wood's back, he's completely irrelevant. Yeah. He's been a guy who's bounced around for years and hasn't really – he's showed potential, but there's something that coaches are seeing that scare them away, kind of like with Hernan Gomez. When he gets a chance, he blows up, but coaches just don't seem to like him. But that was kind of what Wood's MO was too for a long time.
Yeah,
and he stepped up, so you never know. But
yeah, I think Willie's a capable player. I don't wish anything bad on Steven Adams. I'm a big OKC fan, but even in New York, his time in Charlotte, he's definitely been proven. Guys like that, you just like to see what they can do if they just get 30 minutes a game.
Yeah, those per 36 what ifs.
Exactly.
So on Minnesota, it looks like Beasley and Russell are out still. Cat is going to blow up as he has been. I like Vanderbilt a lot. They just, they have a lot of depth there, so it's hard to tell. Naz Reid, he's been playing well in limited minutes, but he's one of those, 15-minute guys, 12 to 15-minute guys who, on some nights will get you 3 blocks and 8 boards in that 15 minutes, and then some nights he'll get no blocks and 3 boards. So it's hard to know, but if you're in need for a big man, Reid's a guy to keep an eye on there. As long as Russell's out, to be serviceable from an assist perspective. But with Minnesota, that's really it from a fantasy perspective, and any kind of sleeper guys. I'd say the Vanderbilt's probably my best. If he's out there, keep an eye on him just while Beasley's out.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so moving it along here, we got just a few more games to report. Next one we got here, Chicago at New Orleans. Not really much. I mean, no offense. When I seen Luke Cornett was day-to-day, that really wasn't all that fantasy relevant, let's just be honest. So outside of that, you still got Lauri Markkanen out. In his stead, Thaddeus Young has been unreal. I don't know if Chicago is going to leverage that as a trade piece. He's always been a serviceable guy after his times at Philadelphia when he was balling out, or maybe they write him out, but he's been red hot. I doubt he's sitting around anywhere that you could just pick him up. If he is, I definitely would grab him. Not really worth the guy trading for. Definitely a sell high if you can pull that off. But.
Yeah, I mean, the assists are out of nowhere. I mean, he's always been a good, decent threes, decent steals. But the fact that he's distributing, I would say, probably sell high. But I mean, he's been doing it long enough now that I think that maybe it's something he could keep it going all year.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you could find someone who and sell his hot streak, go for it. But you'd want to get something good in return because he's playing great.
Definitely. Yeah. So that's pretty much all the report for Chicago. What are you seeing on the New Orleans side down in the bayou there?
Yeah, I mean, no injuries for them. Lonzo Ball is all of a sudden one of the best 3-point shooters in the league.
Quietly, you're having a good season. I feel like all this Melo talk, we got to talk about Lonzo a little bit.
Maybe that's inspiring Lonzo a little bit. LaMelo's getting all the, that he's the ball that everyone's playing with right now. That sounds weird. But Lonzo's like, hey, I'm the other ball hanging out over here.
Other ball, brother.
The right ball. Yeah. He's playing great. And I got Lonzo in this really fun league where we have like 13 different leagues going on. And so we have an overall leader and we have our own individual league leader. And it was draft with no moves after the draft. And Lonzo has been one of my main guys in that league. I just love his game from a fantasy perspective, just contributing everywhere. And the fact, it's just gravy. The fact that he's knocking down threes at like a 50% clip right now is insane. So I think the Ball brothers are really motivating each other, and it's really fun to see because they're really fun guys to watch. And Zion, the fact that he's knocking down his free throws, he's cutting down his turnovers. He's inching closer to being that fantasy stud. Yeah. He may be one of the best interior scorers in the NBA, one of the best interior scorers I've seen in a long time, going back to like Shaq or something. I mean, he's unstoppable down there. His size, his ability to take that second jump, to get his own rebound or steal a rebound is insane. So I love it. If he can get that three to be a little bit more consistent, he's going to be, a first round player for sure. And I love the fact that he doesn't shy away from the threes like Ben Simmons. Like, look, he's not trying to get his own three, but he'll take an open one at least. Sure. So yeah, I love what's going on in there. And Steven Adams has been playing really good since coming back from injury too.
Yep, he has.
He's been, not a high scorer, but he's been getting, double-digit rebounds. He's blocking shots. He gets you 3 or 4 assists too, and steals. So I love the way he's playing. Ingram, he kind of gets overshadowed by these other guys, but he's great. I love the Pelicans. I root for them. They're one of the teams I always try to watch when they're on too. If the Warriors aren't on. So I love what's going on there. And all those guys from a fantasy perspective are fun to have.
Absolutely. And one quick noteworthy thing, we kind of touched on him earlier, but Willie Hernangomez, he's been earning his minutes, and he's been, over the past.
Hayes is out of the rotation now because of the way Hernangomez has played.
He's earning his minutes, and he's playing well. So that's another serviceable big if you kind of need those. I mean, really playing like Steven Adams. He's high field goal percentage, right? He's getting you the occasional blocks and steals, and he's passing pretty well for a big man too. So that can definitely be serviceable. What he's doing right now. So. Moving over to Dallas, I'll let you report on that, Brent. Real quick, this just in, I did see that Luka's been ruled out.
Okay.
Because of his back. So with that said, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, look, Jalen Brunson, it's going to be the Jalen Brunson show. He's been playing great off the bench, and now I assume he'll start if with Luka out. I think it's going to be Brunson. Maybe Finney Smith gets a little more usage there with him out. Now, let me see.
Should be a big singer. Huh?
Tim Hardaway Jr. probably, gets a little bit more scoring, but he's hard to predict. But Porzingis is probably going to have a big game. They're going to rely on him a lot. But I think Jalen Brunson is the fantasy winner here with Doncic out.
I agree. Yeah. He's always been that guy. Anytime someone's out in that backcourt, namely Luka, but he just slides in there and just gives you that good value. He really does.
Yeah, I was just reading an article about Brunson today, and the percentages and the way he's playing. I mean, he's like 12 points a game. He's like 3 or 4 assists, and I think those will go up tonight. His percentage is like near the rim and out. He's shooting like 42% from 3, 50-something% from the floor. Incredible. He's having a great season. He's really changed his game, and he can score from 3 levels now, where I think he struggled a bit with the NBA 3, and now he's super consistent, and he's got that stocky body, so he can really create his own shot around the rim. I love Brunson. I think he's going to go big.
Absolutely. And then just flipping that over, we kind of went inverted there, with the sudden
what's going on with the Thunder?
Luka news, I mean, same injury reports, right? No one knew. I mean, Trevor Ariza, which he hasn't even joined the team.
Yeah, I don't even know we'll see him this year.
And then Diallo. But one person I just want to know, and then I'll pass it over to you, kind of from a fantasy impact. Isaiah Roby, on the back-to-backs when Al Horford's been out, he's really been sliding in and producing well. Even then, right, in his limited minutes. They're giving him opportunity. He's been playing well. What do you make of him and just kind of how he's, getting his keep, earning his keep, and just producing in that?
I love Roby. I mean, if it wasn't for Horford being there, he'd be great. But he's worth owning in every league because even when Horford plays, Roby's putting up decent numbers, and when Horford doesn't play, he's putting up great numbers. So, yeah, I think I love what the Thunder have done. I think the youth that they have, they have a great core of young guys now. Bringing in Horford, I think, was really good for them to help mentor these guys. I don't know if Al would like to play more. I don't know what that situation is, but he's been playing good when he plays. He's giving you kind of what you'd expect from Horford.
Sure.
So to answer your question, I mean, yeah, I'm Roby's great. I own him in a couple places and happy with it. I kind of wish they'd trade Horford sooner than later, just so we could let Roby out of his cage. But I mean, he's good. I like him a lot.
Yeah, he's got a nice game, and as we've seen notoriously, with the Thunder, their specialty is jack up the value and then ship them off. So I'll be shocked if Al Horford is not in a Celtics uniform or wherever, after the trade.
Yeah, I'd love to see him come to the Warriors. I think they'd be a good pickup for them.
Yeah, that'd be a good fit. All right, moving along. And I know we've been doing this home and away thing, but we got the Warriors next home. I'll pass it over to you. I'll let you do the honors on that. I know that's your hometown squad.
Hey, what would make you say that?
I don't know. Just a hint.
Yeah, I mean, look, with the Warriors, the big news is Oubre is questionable. He's a game-time decision with a wrist injury that kind of came out of nowhere. So I haven't seen anything. I don't know if you've got a refresh or an update on Oubre. I hope he plays. Marcus and I were just talking before the podcast. I think the Warriors have a really good shot at maybe being like a top 5, possibly 4th ranked team going into the playoffs, as long as Draymond and Curry stay healthy. But those two guys together, they can win. When Curry got sick the other night, they still almost pulled off the game with him out of there. If it wasn't for Draymond going crazy and Terry Rozier being amazing, they would have won. They would have stole that game away without Curry. So I like what the Warriors have going here. It looked like for a little bit there they were going to probably maybe trade Oubre, but Oubre's been playing great and they have a good shot. I think they hang on to Oubre actually, unless Bob Myers can find a crazy deal. He's shown that we can trust him. As far as from a fantasy perspective, Draymond Green has been great. I got a lot of questions. Should I drop him like a few weeks ago? Should we, look, you didn't draft Draymond Green for his scoring. You didn't draft him for his threes. You drafted him because he gets steals, blocks, and assists and rebounds, and he's been doing that a ton. I mean, he's one of those guys in the league who could potentially get a quadruple double on any given night. Sure. His threes have been falling a little bit more lately. So yeah, love him. Steph Curry, obviously MVP season, a top 5 fantasy player, maybe better at this point. I don't have the rankings in front of me, but you probably got him 6th, 7th, 8th maybe in your draft. So you got to be super happy with that from that position. Oubre has been on fire. He's shooting corner threes and knocking them down at he's not trying to dribble and get his own three. Cause if Oubre ever does anything besides catch and shoot, it's a miss. If he has to dribble, if he has to head fake, if he has to move over, but if he catches it and just shoots it, he makes it like 50% of the time. And then Wiggins has just been kind of quietly great. He's improved his defense. His blocks are up. And then Wiseman back has been huge for them. And Wiseman just gets better every game. Super excited about him. From a fantasy perspective, the blocks and the rebounds are going to be great, and he's only going to get better. It's tough to predict if Oubre does sit. Look for Kent Bazemore as a streamer, possibly Toscano Anderson, maybe a little bit Damian Lee, but I'd say Bazemore is probably the big winner there if Oubre's out.
Absolutely, yeah, and to answer your question, no news yet. Those later games, it can always creep a little closer to game time. So we'll more than likely know that later on. But yeah, Oubre is still listed as questionable with that wrist strain. So kicking things off to Portland, not really anything different, as far as the injury reports. usual suspects injured, usual guys who are going to get the run. Anything you want to report there, Brent, as far as, fantasy related or anything that's sticking out to you?
Yeah, it sounds like McCollum met with some doctors, and it sounds like he's still a ways off.
Sure.
So, I mean, look, he was playing so good. I mean, he was a first-round value
He was
at the beginning of the season, and so it's just a killer. And it's hard. I mean, you can't get rid of him. You can't trade him. You just got to deal with it and hope you have an IR spot right now. So that's really the big news there. I guess Nurkic, he might be getting close to a return. He had a 6-week injury, and I guess we just hit the 6-week mark.
Yep.
So maybe look for that soon.
Sure, definitely.
But in the meantime, Carmelo Anthony's been playing really great.
Yeah.
I picked him up in a couple of leagues just because he's on fire right now. Covington's been good filling in at a center. He's still kind of disappointing, but the blocks have been nice. Other than that, Dame, was amazing. And when they play the Warriors, it seems like Lillard always steps up his game. I think playing against Steph, I think he always feels a little slighted next to Steph. So look for Lillard to have a big game tonight. He always kills the Warriors.
Definitely, yeah. No, it's going to be a good one. For your sake, I hope, not too big of a game and your Warriors can pull it out. But we'll see how it goes. Now, moving things along to our last game of the night, we have the Lakers at the Kings. Headlining our show here, wow, you rarely see LeBron James.
Yeah.
Not playing. That's kind of different. So, just a whole lot of things to report. We get it. It's that one game creeping, towards the the All-Star break. But, you even got Damian Jones. He's probable to play, but Jared Dudley's probable. Alex Caruso questionable. Kyle Kuzma questionable. Obviously, Marc Gasol still ruled out with the COVID protocols, and LeBron James not playing. Who, if there's anything that he's most known for, is his durability. You really have to talk LeBron James into not playing into a game. So, what do you make of this, Brent? Like, so many ways you can go with it, fantasy-wise and everything.
Yeah, look, I think I wouldn't worry about any of it. I think it's just pre-All-Star game rest and just giving guys an extra day, especially LeBron, who had a huge game his last game with the same ankle injury. So, yeah, I think tonight Kuzma might even be out too. So, look, I think Markieff Morris is going to get a lot of minutes.
Definitely.
I'm not on the Damian Jones bandwagon. I've seen him on the Warriors. I've seen him on the Hawks. I've seen him on the Suns. He is what he is. He's not a scorer. He barely blocks a shot. So I think Morris is probably the play. This could be the Talen Horton-Tucker night we're waiting for, though. So if you were ever going to play him in DFS or stream Horton-Tucker this season anyway, tonight's the night. And look for Schroeder to have a really big game. I'm a big Schroeder fan. I think his value took a hit there when he was out, but don't sleep on him, man. He's good. I put him above guys like Melton, who, look, Melton's got a lot of competition for minutes. But Schroeder is the guy next to LeBron. So I love him. I think he's going to have a big game. I think Harrell has a big game tonight with Gasol out. People seem to be sleeping on him because his minutes seem to fluctuate a lot based off matchup. He doesn't do good against bigger guys. So I don't know what that means for tonight. Who's he going up against center-wise? Holmes? Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, that's a good matchup for Harrell.
It should be.
I think Harrell
plays better being set up, but he has standalone value too. So
yep, I like Harrell tonight. I like Horton-Tucker tonight. I like Schroeder tonight. Those are my three guys to watch.
Absolutely, yeah. And then lastly, moving it over to Sacramento. What are you seeing there, Brent?
Well, Halliburton's out. Hield's a game time decision. I haven't seen anything on him.
It could be a big Fox night.
Yeah, no Whiteside.
Yes.
So, look, Rashawn Holmes is going to have a big game. De'Aaron Fox is going to have a big game. Those are the two guys to watch. Harrison Barnes is going to have a big game. People always sleep on Barnes, but look, he's as solid as they come. He's just boring, but he's solid. Look for Fox, Holmes, and Barnes to just have a big game tonight. A guy to keep an eye on is Daquan Jeffries,
definitely,
who's been getting a lot of minutes even with Hield playing. So if Hield does sit tonight, I could see Jeffries, getting 15 points and a lot of minutes tonight too. So keep an eye on him.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and I think that about caps it off. So just want to thank everybody for tuning in. We worked out the technical difficulties and got a little later start, but we got it done nonetheless. So Brent, always a pleasure. And then stay tuned for those later games, making sure you monitor the injury news. So that way, guys who are in your lineups that may be out, you can get them out and vice versa. Make sure you're on top of that. And, just as we always do, we'll be live tomorrow for the next slate of games with your fantasy pregame show. So Brent,
make sure you sub. Make sure you hit that sub button.
Well,
hit that notification bell.
Exactly. Yep. Put it on. And you can follow Brent at Brent Middleman on Twitter and myself at Mark_Anthony35. And always a pleasure. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow.
See you guys.
Yeah. See you.